Sometimes, the silence of an office at night is the loudest sound I know. The clock ticks steady on the wall, but it feels like it's mocking me. Each second a reminder that time is moving, bills are waiting, and my bank balance is slipping further into red. I'm sitting at my desk. The calculator sits open, its digital screen glowing like a warning sign. Numbers stare back at me, unflinching, unkind. The bank app on my phone flashes another notification, the kind that makes my stomach twist. I whisper to myself, sometimes one bad month feels like the end of everything I've built. And tonight, it feels true. The silence is heavy. The office that usually hums with the sounds of printers, ringing phones, and footsteps is still. Too still. My team has gone home. My clients are quiet. And here I am, staring at a balance sheet that feels more like a verdict than a document. I rub my temples, as if pressure from my hands could push the anxiety out of my mind. But it lingers. Fear doesn't leave just because you press on it. 1 month. One slow month. That's all it takes for panic to creep in, whispering, "You can't survive this. Maybe you were never cut out for this." The calculator doesn't argue. The invoices stacked in the empty tray don't disagree. The silence doesn't reassure me. I look around the office, the files stacked neatly, the family photo leaning against the desk lamp, the award plaque tucked in the corner. Proof that I've built something. Proof that I've weathered storms before. Proof that this isn't the first slow month. And yet, in this moment, it feels like the first time all over again. Like I'm right back at the start, unsure, unstable, afraid. I tap the calculator. The buttons click. But no matter how many times I add or subtract, the answer is the same. I'm stretched thin. Fear has a way of shrinking the future down to nothing but this moment. A bad month becomes the end of the story. A red number becomes proof of failure. A slow season becomes collapse. The tick of the clock grows louder. The silence grows heavier. And I find myself caught between the weight of panic and the fragile thread of hope that maybe, just maybe, this won't last. But tonight, that hope feels small. And so I sit here, under the dim glow of the lamp, calculator blinking back at me, wondering if everything I've built could disappear because of one slow month. I lean back in my chair, exhale slowly, and feel the fear settle in deeper. And the thought that rises in the silence is this: what if this one dip ruins everything? I hate how one dry spell can make me question if I should have started at all. That's the truth I don't often say out loud. The irony is, I know the cycles. I've lived them. There are good months and bad months in this business. That's the reality of commission-based income. Deals close when they close. Markets move when they move. Some months flow, others stall. But knowing it doesn't protect me from feeling it. The root of this panic runs deeper than numbers. It's in the unpredictability, the not knowing when the next deal will land, the helplessness of staring at an empty invoice tray and wondering if tomorrow it will still be empty. There's pressure layered into every silence. Family expectations, the unspoken duty to provide, the weight of clients depending on me, the pride of running my own business clashing against the fear that maybe I can't sustain it. Sometimes I wonder if I'm carrying resilience or just stubbornness. The questions echo louder than the tick of the clock. Do you fear the quiet months more than the busy ones? Yes, always. The busy months exhaust me, but at least they reassure me. At least they remind me that momentum is possible. Quiet months steal that proof away. Does a single dip in income feel like a collapse? It does. Every time. A dip feels like the floor giving way, like the stability I thought I had was never real at all. And the more I compare myself to bigger firms, the worse it gets. They have buffers. They have teams to absorb the blow. I have me, my planning, my effort, my willingness to keep showing up. But on nights like this, it feels like that isn't enough. Sometimes I catch myself imagining the worst. The business folding, the clients disappearing, the shame of having to explain it to family, to friends, to myself. Fear paints vivid pictures, and those pictures start to feel like predictions. I glance again at the thankless invoice tray, the papers stacked like a reminder of emptiness. It's amazing how a symbol as small as that can feel so heavy. The wisdom I've heard before whispers somewhere in the back of my mind. Security isn't in the market, it's in your planning. But tonight, I don't feel secure. I feel like a house built on sand, waiting for the next wave to sweep it away. I rub my eyes, exhausted, and whisper another confession. Sometimes I wonder if I was wrong to believe I could build something steady out of something so unpredictable. The exploration doesn't bring answers. It brings more weight. And the question I'm left holding, as the silence stretches on, is this. What if I was never meant to do this? The month closed with nothing. No new deals. No fresh contracts signed. Not a single commission landing in the account. I remember staring at the calendar on the wall, every day marked off, waiting for something to come through. Each square of the month empty, taunting me. Then came the notification, the familiar buzz of my phone. I reached for it instinctively, half hoping it was a client, half fearing it was the bank. It was the bank. A red notification flashing across the screen. Balance low. Negative threshold reached. My chest tightened. My breath shortened. The room seemed smaller. The calculator slipped from my hand onto the desk with a dull thud. I pressed the heels of my palms into my eyes, as if I could block out the numbers. But the numbers weren't going anywhere. The thought loop started. It always starts the same way. I won't survive this. It repeats, louder with every silence. I won't survive this. The invoices piled in the corner didn't answer back. The empty tray across the desk didn't reassure me. The relentless tick of the clock only amplified the thought. I slumped forward, elbows on the desk, head in my hands. My temples throbbed, my shoulders sagged. The weight of the business, the team, the bills, the future, all pressing down at once. The overwhelming symbol was clear. My phone, glowing with the red balance warning, sitting right next to the calculator. Together, they felt like judge and jury. I wanted to shut the phone off, sweep the calculator into a drawer, silence the evidence. But the silence wouldn't change the truth. My body gave me away. The collapse gesture came without asking. My head dropped, my shoulders rounded, my hands rubbed circles into my temples. It was as if my body knew before I admitted it. I was breaking under the weight. I caught my reflection on the black screen of the office monitor. A man who looked smaller than he should. Eyes hollow, jaw clenched, lips pressed tight. A man who built something, but at this moment doubted he could keep it. I thought about walking away, about shutting it all down, about saying to myself, enough. I tried. I gave what I could. Maybe I'm not cut out for this after all. The silence of the office didn't disagree, and for a moment, it felt like the business was already gone. Like I was standing in the ruins of something that once had momentum, but no longer did. That was the low point, the quiet collapse. And in that silence, I realized I had a choice. Stay here in the collapse, or reach for something steadier. It started with a whiteboard marker. I don't even know why I reached for it. Maybe it was instinct. Maybe it was survival. But instead of shutting down the office for the night, I stood up, uncapped the marker, and turned to the blank whiteboard. The sound of the cap snapping off echoed louder than the tick of the clock. It was a small act, but it felt defiant. I started writing. Not the numbers I was afraid of, but the steps I still had. One line at a time. Cut one unnecessary expense. Check the pipeline for 3 warm leads. Follow up on last month's referrals. It wasn't a perfect solution. It wasn't a miracle. It was a plan. And in that moment, the shift happened. I said it out loud, steady this time. Planning cushions me against volatility. The words carried weight. They sounded like something solid enough to hold on to. I stepped back from the whiteboard and looked at the list. It wasn't long. It wasn't fancy. But it was proof that I wasn't powerless. Proof that even in a lean month, I had moves to make. The reframed insight landed. Cash flow dips don't define failure. Only lack of planning does. I thought about all the months I had survived before this one, the droughts I had pushed through, the nights I thought would break me, but didn't. And I realized it wasn't luck. It was adaptation. It was planning. It was refusing to give up when fear told me to. Plan. Steady. Survive. I repeated it again, this time bolder. Plan. Steady. Survive. And with each word, I felt my body shift. My shoulders lifted, my breath slowed, my chest expanded. I was no longer collapsing into the desk. I was standing, marker in hand, writing my way back into control. The symbolic moment crystallized when I looked over at the family photo on the desk. Their smiles weren't tied to numbers on a bank app. Their future wasn't as fragile as my fear made it seem. They had me, and I had resilience. The thought that once whispered defeat, I won't survive this, was replaced with something truer. Even in lean months, my planning carries me. And I knew it then. Markets could rise and fall, deals could dry up and return, but as long as I planned, as long as I adapted, I wasn't at the mercy of the numbers alone. The drone shot in my mind widened. From the tight view of the desk, calculator, and red numbers, to the wider view of Melbourne. Empty streets at night slowly lit by the glow of dawn. The docklands alive again, steady and resilient, just as they had been through every season before. And in that stillness, I breathed the shift fully. I can weather volatility because resilience is my true equity. That's the truth I walked away with that night. Not that fear disappears, not that panic never knocks again, but that I am steadier than the market wants me to believe. And that steadiness, that planning, is what keeps me going. The shift didn't end with the whiteboard. Writing a plan was one thing. Living it, breathing it, anchoring it into my body, that's what carried me forward. I sat back down at the desk. The phone still glowed red with the negative balance notification. The invoices still waited in the tray. Nothing had changed outside, but something had shifted inside. I reached for my journal. Not the financial spreadsheets, not the emails, not the pipeline tracker. Just a blank page. A page where I could put down my panic and replace it with proof. I wrote 2 headings, cut and build. Under cut, I listed one small expense I could reduce, a subscription I barely used, a service I could pause. It wasn't about saving thousands overnight. It was about proving I wasn't helpless. Under build, I wrote one action that could generate stability later. A call to a referral partner, a check-in with an old client, a small step, but one aimed forward. Then I read the words aloud. The pen still in my hand felt heavier than the calculator had an hour earlier. This weight wasn't a burden, it was grounding. I said it out loud, slow. My plan steadies me. I let the words settle into the room, into my chest, into the silence that once only carried the tick of the clock. Then I breathed, in for 4, out for 6, again, in for 4, out for 6. With each exhale, my shoulders softened. With each inhale, I felt steadier. I kept repeating the affirmation, my plan steadies me. At first, it felt forced, like something I was saying to drown out fear. But the longer I sat with it, the truer it became. My breath slowed, my chest expanded, my feet pressed firm into the floor. The grounding symbol anchored me. Not the invoices, not the phone app, not the red numbers, but the pen in my hand marking next step on tomorrow's calendar. That stroke of ink was proof that the future wasn't undefined chaos. It was a sequence of steps, each one I could take. The reassurance grew louder. Even in dips, small actions rebuild stability. And I felt it. A stability no market report could erase. The practice wasn't complicated. No one else would see it. It wasn't about impressing a client or proving myself to the industry. It was about giving my nervous system something solid to hold on to. Write one small cost cut. Write one future-focused step. Anchor it with breath. Seal it with affirmation. That night, I didn't erase the fear, but I shifted it. I redirected it into action, into ritual, into proof. And when I finally turned off the office lights, I knew the panic would return again someday. But I also knew I had a way through it. The next morning, the sun poured through the blinds. My desk was still cluttered, the invoices still stacked, but on the whiteboard hung the plan. On the calendar, a step was already marked. And inside me, something was different. The fear hadn't vanished, but it wasn't running the show anymore. I kept repeating the encouragement line to myself. You're steadier than the market makes you feel. Because it's true. The market moves, shifts, crashes, rebounds. Always has. always will. But me? I'm still here, still standing, still planning. I sat at the desk, looked again at the numbers, and whispered the mantra, "Planning is resilience in motion." The words carried me back to that truth. My worth isn't written in the balance line of an account. My stability isn't locked in the headlines of a news ticker. My equity isn't measured only in commissions. It's in my resilience. The closing symbol was clear. The calendar in front of me, marked not with fear, but with steady cash flow targets. Days no longer empty, but carrying small steps that added up to proof. I knew the community prompt mattered too, even if it wasn't about telling them what to do. It was about reflection. I found myself wondering, almost out loud, what's one small financial step you've taken to bring stability? That question sat with me, because it's the kind of question I ask myself daily now. And then I gave myself the final line, the closing statement that holds me steady. Slow months don't break me. My planning makes sure of it. Planning is resilience in motion. The pen pressing into tomorrow's square on the calendar. Slow months don't break me. My planning makes sure of it.